Three, two, one, let's go. So, hey everybody, to another episode on the George Habib podcast. I'm clearly George Habib, and our guest of today is the singer, locally famous, Jean Pierre or Jay Abo. Say hi.
Oh, this was the introduction. I
Yeah.
thought you were gonna say more about me. I was excited. I thought you had like a nice, like sick long intro prepared with my accolades and achievements. But I like the famous. I don't consider myself famous, but
Okay, let's do that again
yeah, my
then
name is
because
Jay. My name is Jean-Pierre. I'm George's cousin as well. So we're family. And we're my stage name is Jay Abo. So that's the name that I go by for my shows, for my music, for when I do gigs and stuff. And yeah, what's up, man?
perfect. And don't worry, man, as the questions go by, I'm pretty sure your accolades will pop up frequently.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I didn't think of that.
No worries, no worries. So
I'm
yeah,
gonna
guys,
talk
before we
myself
get
up.
into the topic, I would like to remind you all, if you haven't done so already, to please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you truly want to spoil me, hit the bell notification, because doing so basically lets YouTube know that people want to see our content, and it helps us grow. So now, JP, we're going to move on to the topic, and the topic of the
Yeah.
episode is being a singer or slash musician, a discussion on fame, struggle, and success. Because I do believe you've gone through these things.
I've gone through like percentages of them, I've gone through like yeah, little parts of them, I guess.
So then I'd like to ask you the first question. Could you tell us more about your background? Okay, that's not really a question, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was born in Lebanon and I was brought up there in like a French school until I was I think 7 years old, and then sort of moved around for a bit, lived in Paris for like a year, and then I moved to Dubai when I was 8 years old. And I've been here in Dubai ever since. I grew up here. I was raised here. Like I identify the UAE as more of my home than anywhere else because I just know it better than anywhere else.
Would you call
I
yourself an
definitely know it.
international kid?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I feel like it's one of the only like cultures that you can see. It's a very identical culture no matter where in the world you went to an international school. I feel like we can recognize each other. I think the first time I ever noticed that I was in London, and I was talking to a guy who said he lived in London, but he sounded like me. He sounded like me, as in like you couldn't place where he was from. You couldn't place where his accent was from. And he said to me, he was like very observant. He's like, you're an international school kid. And so that's the first time I knew that there was a category for like our type of people, because I would consider you one too, you
I
know.
think the term is third culture.
Third culture. Yeah, 100%. So
I
there
think
is
I've touched on
like,
that with a few guests in some other videos.
yeah, man, look, I think it's like a common theme that's like that's slowly gonna make its way more into the mainstream. Like a lot of us are gonna have moments like I did with that kid from London, and where sort of a lot of people are gonna realize that there are a lot of us out there. So it's cool. It's cool that you're talking to a lot of third culture kids.
I
Yeah,
feel like, look,
but
I
yeah.
feel like in the past it was kind of like its own minor subcategory of students and kids, but I think it's increasing as more people are moving around.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like the world is becoming, Dubai is definitely an example of how the world is becoming so international. Like everyone sort of lives everywhere now. It's not, you can definitely meet like a Lebanese person anywhere in the world for sure. And I think like you can spot them pretty instantly,
Yeah, they're pretty
right?
loud and obnoxious. My personal
I
opinion.
mean, that's the stereotype, but like, I don't like, I find a lot of, sometimes like I look at someone in another and be abroad and be in another country I've never been to, and I'll just know from a distance that they're Lebanese, and like the first sensation I get, or the first feeling I get, isn't that, oh, this person's going to be loud or obnoxious. Like for me, it's like I feel like, oh, thank God there's someone like me here.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that when I went to Sri Lanka and bumped into a few Lebanese people there as well. Yeah, it's a cool
Definitely,
feeling, man,
definitely. We're digressing a little bit, but I totally get what you're
for
saying.
sure.
I want to ask you, Jean-Pierre, because look, you said you kind of played it down a bit, but let's face it, you are locally famous.
I guess,
I
yeah, I'm
see ads
luckily,
of you everywhere on social media.
I mean, that's just marketing campaigns for venues, but and you know, like, and obviously, I think I realized lately that they probably target. If they don't, they should definitely do this. So if the venues are watching,
Mhm.
just listen to this. I feel like they target my own followers in their ads. So like everyone who I know is more likely to come to a show if they know that it's happening anyway. So I feel like either they are doing that or they should be doing that. But like because I only get those comments from people who I know. You know what
Right.
I mean? And I don't get too many random follows. I get follows when I post or when I put content up or when there's something that I put up that gets shared a lot. Like that's when I get followers. So I'm pretty sure that that's anyway. Yeah. Look, I'm definitely like locally successful. I would say like um without trying to sound like I'm bragging. Like over the past 5 years, I'm definitely I would say like I'm in the top five probably most demanded artists, like here in Dubai. Like I get asked for the big gigs, the good gigs, the hot spots and stuff. And yeah, so I guess that could measure up to like success and I guess fame among my friends, fame among the community of musicians.
Yeah, like, look, honestly, it's great of you to be modest and humble, but you got to understand, I'm not going to be humble on your behalf. Jean-Pierre, I do
That's
truly
fine.
think
That's fine. You
you're a
can you
very
can do that. So
successful
then I can
artist.
sound
You've got all
that way.
the
I can
merch
sound
out there.
all good and hey, me too,
And
bro.
it's not just the ads. I'll talk to random people at bars and clubs and they'll have heard of you.
Okay, well that's good. That's surprising because like to me, fame is when strangers know you.
Yeah.
And I've gotten that maybe like once or twice, and that was purely after I was on The Voice, you know. But
Of
I've
Lebanon, right?
yeah, and otherwise it's been like mutual friends who had seen me on my friends' stories or on
Mhm.
on Instagram. Uh, but yeah, I guess I would say more like successful and famous in my community than really like the typical idea or like understanding of what fame is.
Yeah, we can definitely meet there. But then I want to ask you,
Yeah.
JP, like, how did it all start? How did you get into music?
Um, when I was a kid, I always wanted to play the guitar. Um, and I remember when I was like, my first experience was that when I was still in Louis Wegman, which is like a French system sort of school in Lebanon, I, my mom went and bought me a guitar. I think I must have been like 6 or 7, and I went to the after school program once, and it was so horrible. Like no one taught me anything. They just give me like I can't believe I remember this, but they gave me like a really stale Nutella sandwich. And I just sat there, and the guy's like, yeah, just read the staff music. I was like, are you serious? Like I can't, I don't know how to. Like, you got to teach me something. He's like, yeah, just read the staff music, just play this and this and this. So they really didn't care, and I think that turned me off from guitar for until I was like 10 years old. And then I wanted to play guitar again when we lived in Dubai.
Mhm.
And my mom got me a guitar for my 10th birthday. So I always had this thing. Like it's weird, like, but I don't think I've said this many times, but like I always had like this attraction to the guitar. I just always wanted to play guitar since I was
But
6. I
JP,
don't
if
know
I
why.
can ask, what
Yeah.
what kept you going? Because I know a lot of kids, they want to try the guitar, their parents got them a guitar, and now their guitar is in their cupboard for years, gathering dust, and they never did anything with it. What kept you
Yeah,
going?
but I think back then my attraction and my like need to play the guitar was more intense than other kids. Like, and that's why I said that there were two instances, because I did it when I was 6, and then 4 years later, when developmentally, like, at that age, I would have been very different from my 6-year-old self. I still wanted to do it.
Right.
Um, so I really do think I had like the initial thing is that I really had an attraction to music. I didn't know why or what it was. No one in the families is no one in the family is particularly like musical, you know. I know like mom and my father used to play a bit of piano, but that's about it. Like there was no emphasis on music growing up. But what kept me, yeah, for sure. So I guess also when I was, well, it's a combination of like my attraction to the instrument and then the validation that I would get from people around me when I did well with that instrument, you know.
So how
So
important was that validation?
what's so important that it got me to start to sing, because I never wanted to be a singer. And then when I was, I think, like 15, 16 years old, I had built up some chops on guitar, like, albeit not the stuff I play now. I was playing a lot of like flamenco and classical pieces, but I would learn them all by ear or by repetition. I would never have the patience for learning staff music or theory or passing exams or whatever. But yeah, so when I was 16, I used to be like, one of my things at school was, you know, the guitar guy, right? Like I had to, these were my things at school. I learned to be funny, and then I'm like, I have to have talent, and that's what's going to get me like sort of good with everyone, you know. So when I was 16, one of the girls said to me, you should try singing too. You should try. She told me to sing a very specific song. Like at the time, Apologize by One Republic was big. And she's like, you should definitely just try singing this song as you play the guitar. And so I did it a couple more times, like a couple times. And I was like, you know what? I'm not, I'm not bad at this. I'm not so bad at this. Like, no way. I just tried it and it worked pretty well, because I had never really like tried it before. I'd never taken singing seriously. So when I did try it, it worked pretty well. And I just kept going in that direction, I guess.
So it all fell into
That year.
place.
Sorry about the mic. Yeah, what?
So it
What?
all
Sorry.
fell into place, basically.
Yeah, it fell into place. When I was 16, I remember I went to my first. So yeah, that same year, it all happened that same year. So 15, 16, um, I started singing. And then very shortly after I started singing, like only a few months after I started singing, I I was I that's when I first listened to John Mayer, and I listened to so much of his stuff where I was like, oh my God, this guy's a songwriter. Like, I need to be a songwriter. That's what I need to do. I need to write songs, because like I just felt like I need to write songs now. And
Right.
I wrote my first song, and I went to my first open mic, and I did my first radio interview. This was all in the same, in like the 2 years that I started singing. This all happened in a
Which year
very
was
short period
this?
of time. Mm, I'm not too good with years, but it was like, I mean, I guess when I was 15, 16 years old, it must have been like 2008, 2009, probably like
Yeah.
late 2008 to 2010 is when
Right.
like things started. Because so right after graduating from high school, I started doing YouTube videos at my friend Nadim's house. I think I did like 3 or 4 videos, maybe a bunch, like a couple more. And then like the third one at the time was for a song called like Stereo Love, like this very cheesy, lame electronic song with like the corniest like Eastern European female vocal, you know, like, you know exactly what I'm talking
These are
about,
very,
right?
this is a very specific genre.
It's really not, it's huge, man. It's like you know, I think you know the song. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun, dun,
that.
dun. You remember that shit?
Yeah, but I never thought
Uh,
of Eastern corny European female.
can I get to your soul? Can you get to my heart? Can you promise we won't let
Okay, so yeah,
go?
that is kind of corny.
Come on, bro. It's so corny. But anyway, I was like, I'm gonna make it uncorny. I'm gonna cover it. And I played like the piano and the guitar, and I did like a angle, multi-frame camera video thing. And it started getting so many views, like views in Lebanon, views in Dubai, like because my friends had just moved to Lebanon to go to AUB, to go to university there. And so they were spreading it among their friends. And that was my first big like, whoa, you know, like I can just keep doing this, you know. I can just keep doing this, and it can I don't know, like it worked. Like that was my
Yeah.
third video and it worked, you know. Um,
So it's not like you
so
just kept trying and trying and trying until something happened. You tried and worked on it and you got a good reception from it all and it kept you going.
well, a lot doesn't work out, right? Like a lot doesn't work out also. So it's, you know, it happens in a way where like yeah, you could say that I tried singing and everything fell into place and everything just worked and luck was like a huge factor. But also it took me 6 years and this random moment and a bit of like a high school sort of half crush, you know, all those like, and like, so 6 years and to really figure out that that was the thing. So really like, no, I was a musician for 6 years before it worked out, you know. I like, you have to think of it that way too, because if I hadn't done all the things that led me up to there, I wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't have happened.
I wouldn't call
But
it luck exactly. Look, in my opinion, I wouldn't call it lucky. Lucky implies as if you did none of the hard work, as if it just like fell onto your lap. I would say there was a lot of there was some good fortune along the way,
of
but
course,
that fortune would
100%.
have never came along if you didn't even try or work on it.
Exactly, bro. Couldn't have said it better myself. And I think that's how life works. And I think the more you work on like identifying the fortune when it comes, you
Yeah.
know, because what's gonna happen is gonna happen, you know. But like when you're better at identifying those good opportunities, you know, and that takes also being in a better mindset and stuff, then you know how to capitalize on them, you know. So you know, some people obviously are exposed to more good fortune than some, and I am very like lucky to be born in sort of the position that I was born in or whatever.
Yeah, but my
But
opinion
yeah,
doesn't detract away from all your hard work. But JP,
thank
before
you,
I get
man.
in,
Yeah.
before I expand on your journey in music, I wanted to ask you, like when
Mm.
some people get into rap, when some people get into hip hop, they list like Eminem, 50 Cent, Tupac, Biggie Smalls as like their idols. In your specific genre and in your brand of music, who were your idols? You mentioned John Mayer. Were there any others, and why?
Yeah, so first I think the first time I ever like really wanted to play what got me back to playing guitar when I was 10 was my aunt Lena Lanoon bought me uh bought me Backstreet Boys Millennium.
Oh,
And it was for me at the time, like a 10-year-old kid, it was a crazy album. Like I loved it so much. I'm pretty sure I Want It That Way was on there, and I remember like that guitar of the dun 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 dun. And I'm like, oh my god, imagine someday if I work hard enough I get to play that. And now it's like, obviously it's something like really easy to play. And now if I had never heard the song before and I just heard it now, I could probably, you know, figure it out within like 2 or 3 minutes. But like
so
at
it's
the
a learning
time,
curve.
yeah, of course. But at the time, I'm like, oh my God, like I hope someday I can play that on the guitar. It sounds impossible. Like it still sounds like magic because you don't have like the math yet and the experience on the instrument to know like, okay, that's what that is, you know?
But does it take away
Uh,
from the magic of the music now that
yeah, I
you
was
know the whole
talking.
technical side?
Yeah, it's like knowing, it's like figuring out like you know, when you see a magician do a magic trick, you're impressed, but when you know how he did it, instantly there's that like lackluster feeling, you know, it just goes away. Um I would say it's a bit different in music because like the music still sounds great either way, you know, like it's but yeah, there is definitely a thing where you have to put a bit more focus into being non-analytical when you're listening, you know.
Yeah.
You have to, there's like an effort there to be non-analytical, but like, you know, meditation and shit helps with that. It's you can do it, yani. Usually if a song is really good, you won't be able to like it'll take away that, like you still feel the magic in the beginning, the first couple of times you listen to it, because you don't want to analyze, you know, you're just enjoying it, you know. So yeah, it's not as disappointing as figuring out a magic trick for sure, but yeah, it does happen, this disillusionment.
I would describe it as like being a kid who's always been drawing and enjoys drawing, and then their parents spot that and put them up with an art teacher who teaches them like rigorous techniques. Kind of takes away the creativity, even though it kind of refines it more because of the techniques.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm thinking about like the similarity of what we were, because we were saying what were we saying, that like
We were saying like in the
discovering how
beginning,
music
your
works.
yeah, we're in the beginning. It was a kind of like we were talking about like how your music was raw and it had like the I want to say passion and creativity because that's what the Backstreet Boys inspired you with. Okay, my English is horrible. Basically the Backstreet
No,
Boys inspired you because you heard the music and you didn't see what was going on behind the music, the technique and all that structured
right,
stuff.
right.
But then when you learned the structured stuff, I think what you
No,
implied
well,
was it kind
honestly,
of took away from the raw
it
passion.
didn't take away. It didn't take away that much, because I realized like, um, it's definitely like we said, like, yeah, it's a bit, you have to be a bit more, uh, you have to put a bit more effort in being non-analytical when you're listening to the music, but also it's cool because it helps you make sense of things, and then you sort of like, you, instead of like knowing that you like this sound,
Yeah,
you know that you like this sound because that's like a perfect fourth interval,
right.
and so you know that like a fourth works well here, or like a, so it starts to make at least some things quicker. So it's definitely like worth doing. You don't have to do it, but I think I'm right now, like a big part of me developing as a musician is like learning more about theory, learning more about, chords and intervals, um and triads, and all that shit. Like I'm, and it helps a lot. It makes things faster, and it doesn't take away from the magic, because when you're playing something on guitar, you're not instantly, like, you're not thinking in those terms. You can only think in those terms to analyze. Even when a jazz person is improvising, they're not thinking like, I'm going to go to this mode, I'm going to go to this scale, I'm going to go to this, they sort of do what's natural. But it's the previous sort of like studying of all those things that makes those things more accessible, on your instrument.
But how do you balance how do you find balance between raw music, like the raw side of the music, and then the refined side of the music? Because like if
I
it's
mean,
too raw, it sounds like a bit like passionate rambling. And if it's too refined, I feel it sounds like too
okay.
structured and formulatic.
S- um So I guess, you know what, a lot of the time it depends on the song. Some songs come out really quick, and they're just like, they are very themselves, and they just present themselves to you fully on like on a plate, and that's sort of the thing where inspiration strikes. And you just like ride that wave, and sometimes you finish a song in 20 minutes when that happens. And then other times, like, you really have to grind, bro. You have to put in the time, you have to sit with the problem, and you eventually figure it out, or you don't, and you leave it alone. It's a lot like I've been playing Elden Ring. It's a lot like Elden Ring. I was watching this video
I can
of a
never
guy
play those
saying, he's like,
games. I suck.
you try and try and try and try and try. Sometimes you just try again, and sometimes you just need to come back later, you know.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're not ready to defeat this boss, and you need to come back later. So I feel like it's a lot like that. There's a balance. Like sometimes it'll come easily, and sometimes you have to sort of think about it more, and use those tools that you learned about, like theory.
Right. I agree with that. So on the way, so then I have to ask another question. On the way to achieving your current success,
Yeah.
what struggles were there aside from just the ones we discussed, which is just, songwriting and production?
The struggles there were. I mean, obviously there was just being uh, being an Arab kid and wanting to do music, and sort of like the family not really seeing that as a viable career path. But it's such a cliche at this point, like literally every contestant on The Voice had that story, a
Yeah.
combination of that story and a weight loss story, which is also another part of my story. We're all just cliches now, bro. Like people who lost weight and went on The Voice, and their parents didn't want them to do music, but they did music. Like khalas, it's
Yeah,
kind of overplayed.
but respectfully,
But
bro, I
like,
think we're
so I'm just gonna,
cliches.
exactly, but I'm gonna try to find like different struggles. Like, I'm gonna try to think about slightly different things that I faced. A big part of it was, I think, when that video hit a lot of views, or when anything that I did got majorly sort of praised, majorly praised, um, I wanted that feeling all the time for everything I did. And so a lot of the time I just it slowly became like fully about validation, and that sort of blocks you because you're like, well, this last thing I did didn't work as well as the first thing. And a lot of people can like power through that, but I think I still struggle with that, like even now, you know, I have probably 17, 20 written songs that I haven't released. So I think one of the struggles was that sort of the aspect of only for the people, which really means only for myself, you know, because I just want to feel good, because like, you know.
Yeah.
And the other struggle was obviously financial, you know, and just sort of arguing with my mom, because at the time I was like 24. When I really started a career in music, like making money from music, I made that decision at 24, because I had spent 7 years in university, like failing year after year. But thank God for, you know, for the head of registrar, which really loved me and took care of me. And every time I failed, she somehow just like let me try again, you know. And at the end, I just got on, you know, by the 7th year, I had like a big turning point in my life where I wanted to change everything up. And I started working out, losing weight. I started going to therapy, and I had to take my mom to the therapist with me so I could tell her like, yo, listen, before you make me get a job with you know, a family member or someone or something like that, before you just force me into a job, just give me 6 months to prove to you that I can make the same amount of money doing music, you know. And even as I said that, I didn't really believe that I would do it. I just wanted 6 months, like whatever, just give me 6 months before I have to do this next thing. But I actually did try. I went to open mics, I busted my ass, like I wrote songs. I would only play guitar and sing and within 6 months I was making as much as my friends who were also like, well, a bit older graduate, like, you know, they had graduated a bit earlier than me because I took so damn long at college. But I was already making as much as them, like the people who had desk jobs. And I was like, okay, well, you know, is this enough, you know? And it was in the beginning, and it went pretty well. Like I was on sort of like an uphill, like there was like a upwards trajectory
Uphill
from
battle.
up, not battle, yeah,
Oh,
it's
not
not, it was,
battle.
it's, I mean, not really a battle. It was like an upward trajectory because I just kept doing I was having fun going to open mics.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like work. There was a real community at the time, 2016 to like 2017, 18. There was a really good open mic scene in Dubai, because of this one guy, Abo. He's yeah, no relation, but Abo was like a really good guide to the community here in Dubai, like. And he really had he really like, he felt like a magical person when the way he announced people on stage. He had like an energy, like he was very electric, he was very funny, he was very crude and dry in his own British piratey way. And he knew how to find talent and hone talent and like really teach like important lessons about performing on stage as a musician. You know, there's things that I still do up to this point, like right now, the way I put my, you know, the way I coil my cable around my strap and into my guitar is because Abo taught me. You know, he always taught me to do that, because like, in case you trip, you're gonna pull your wire out, and you know, then you're screwed. So
Was this before or after you started getting paid for your gigs?
this was around like the same time. I would say like I was getting some paid gigs, you know, and I was getting some corporate gigs and a couple residencies, but I was still going to open mics and doing, like, that's what really got me into the scene. You know, by 2017 I got my big, sort what you would call like my big break gig, which is like I started playing at Iris. You know, Iris, very big
That's
sort
a
of
big club.
Lebanese franchise, Admind, you know, great very very successful, hardworking and yeah, good people. And so I worked at Iris for a while, and then from then, like, really things started rolling in sort of constantly. Yeah.
Would you
uh
describe it as working really hard to breach a wall? And then once that wall was breached, more opportunities came along your way?
because I'm very hard on myself, I don't think I worked very hard. But now looking back, yeah, I did. I was at open mics 3 4 times a week. I was writing songs, I was putting videos up. I guess I was working pretty hard. And yeah, then someone noticed. The right person noticed. I don't know if they would want to be mentioned or not. They probably would, but like, it was three. It was a team of 3 people. It was a guy called Joe Harney. He's a great guy, a musician here. He also runs a booking agency and does entertainment and stuff. And his partner Karen, and also a girl called Larissa Masih, who worked at Admine at the time. So the 3 of them sort of believed in me, and we had a meeting in Lebanon at the Iris in Lebanon. And they said, we want to put you in the one in Dubai. We want you to have a residency there. And so yeah, that was the big one. That was when everything started. But before that, I had a residency at Stereo Arcade, and they were really cool too. They gave me a residency there, and that was my first residency at Stereo Arcade. So yeah, there was money. I was making money. I was making money. I started making money sort of at the end of 2016. I was making good money by 2017, great money by 2018, 2019, and then yeah, and then the pandemic hit, and I got absolutely destroyed for 2 years.
Everyone, man,
Like,
everyone.
yeah, yeah, but like entertainment, and I'm not like victimizing entertainers here, but like, we really had like nothing. Like, there was no,
Mm.
there was a lot of people. I know a lot of people lost their jobs, but like, we lost our industry, completely. Like, it was just out of the question to have
There was no
live entertainment.
adapting, there was no switching to online,
There
switching
was a
to
bit,
iTunes,
but like,
switching to.
it was never like, it was never paid. Like,
Mm.
maybe if I did like a streaming thing, I could have made some money, but I don't think anywhere near what I would have made if I was gigging at the time,
Having said all that, I wanted to ask, at what
Yeah.
point did you consider yourself a true musician? Was it when you picked up guitar? Was it when you did your first gig? Was it when you got paid for your first paid gig? At what point did you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm Jay Abu, I'm an official musician?
Man, sometimes I swear to God, I look at myself in the mirror now and I don't even know if I'm a real musician. In some ways, I swear to God, because like, just the people who I play with are people I admire so much, the people in my band, the people who I know in the community. And there are situations where I'm out of my depth when I'm jamming with them, when I'm playing with them, sometimes when we're even discussing something musically. I'm getting better at it, and it's good to have like a bit of fire, to get me to be there. But no, there was definitely a point, and I remember I was it was definitely a combination of all those things, getting a first check, playing gigs, whatever. But I remember it was the first, like, what really felt like it was the first time someone asked me, so what do you do for a living? And I remember the first time I said, I'm a musician. And I was sort of like, oh, I'm a musician. And I had like this smile in my mind more than on my face. And I'm like, wow, I guess I can say this now. Like, I can just keep saying this to people when they ask me.
Was it a
And
beautiful realization?
it is. Definitely it was. It was, especially when you're like in your mid 20s. When you're 30 and you say that to people in their mid to late 30s, it's sort of a different reaction. It's sort of like, does he make money that way? Can you make money that way? There's a bit of that going on, but I'm still very proud to say that I'm a musician, because then now I look forward to the next question, which is usually related to trying to estimate if I make a good living, or if you can make good money doing this, and if so, then how. So I like the next question. I enjoy explaining it.
Then I guess
with
that's our next
any
question,
subtle
Jean-Pierre.
numbers. That's the next question. How well do I do
abruptly
financially?
the next question.
Look, man, like there are months that can be really, really, really good. Like high season months are usually September to, well, end of September. So I would even say October to about March. That's where like you're really like, I was doing, I think, more than 6 gigs a week, probably sometimes 7 gigs a week, sometimes 2 gigs a day, twice a week, so it would be really crazy in those few months. And then there are 2 months in the year where you make no money, usually July and August. So those are coming up right now. And so you have to adapt, when you spread it out evenly over 12 months, it's like a really good salary. Like it's what someone would be very happy with. I'm trying to find a way to like, let people like guess, but without being too explicit about it. But it's like, what a really good like account manager or even, slightly higher
position
than that would get,
Yeah. So there's a lot
It's
of variability, but it's not really consistent calendar
yeah, but I
wise.
like that. There are a few things that become harder to do, like paperwork and visas and bank stuff, and that can be a bit complicated, but like but I guess there's always like a fear of like, well, am I never gonna, what if I just never get another gig again? And I think most of that fear is in me because of the pandemic, because that happened once. But like, if I really think about it, it's not realistic to think like, why would I just all of a sudden not get hired anymore?
Yeah.
I'm only getting better. I'm only refining my sets, and
because you've already proven that people will pay to watch you. That's something that can't
Exactly.
really be taken back, minus
Exactly.
some big calamity to your vocal cords.
Exactly. So in the not so distant future, I'm sure that I'm fine. But I'm also like, I know that I can't gig forever, like this kind of gig, like playing other people's songs, playing mostly covers at gigs. Like I don't want to do this forever. And a lot of people in Dubai say that, but a lot of people haven't played for like 5 years, dude. I've been doing this for 5 years. Like it really becomes a job.
Yeah.
And I have to consciously, like when I go to a gig, remember like, yo, like try to enjoy this, try to find a way to enjoy this, make it fun. And most of the time it works out. It's like going to the gym a little bit. Like you never want to go in the beginning, but you're never not thankful when you're done with a workout. You're always like, I'm so glad I did this,
Right.
So there's a bit of that now, but that's also, that's my body and my mind and my soul telling me that like, we need to level up, like we need to move on to the next thing. And you've been putting this off for too long, and this is comfortable and you're making money and it's great. But like, this was never the dream. But not that I'm not extremely grateful for everything I have. And I know there's so many people, like millions of people, who would be like, oh my God, what, like this guy's so ungrateful. I wish I could just sing every day and make a good living. Like how amazing is that,
But then I want to ask,
sure.
At what point do you go to the next step, which is diversifying? Because now you're saying you're doing the gigs, but when do you go to things such as like YouTube channel or iTunes or selling CDs, even though CDs don't really exist anymore? When do you diversify to the next thing and become like, I don't know who else did this, Dr. Dre, but he's mostly for the headphones. But like, when do you diversify? When do you find other streams of revenue?
Right. So like, I've always sort of been doing it anyway. So like I've done jingles and songs for brands and companies and stuff like that. I've written songs for other people, but if it's something, I do have projects that are completely unrelated to music that I'm thinking about. I don't want to talk about them here because it's like my secret,
It's a
but
surprise.
I'll tell you next time we have lunch or coffee. I
Definitely.
think I might have already told you about it, but anyway, um so I had a bit of a plan, right? After pandemic, I'm like, I'm gonna save some money so that I can feel safe, and I can feel safe enough to like do what I want to do next. And for me, in terms of like diversifying, it's not even about that yet. Like I'm always diversifying either way. I'm always doing other
Yeah.
stuff in tandem. Like sometimes I book things for people, sometimes I help throw events, and the other stuff I've mentioned. But for me, the next step is definitely writing the songs and getting them out. Like putting the songs out is the most important thing in my life right now. Although I dedicate about 5% of my day to it, but I'm still like, the gigs are now just starting to die down for the season, and I'm only now getting the time to start to do this.
Right.
So for me, that's the next step, and I have the money to market it the right way, have the money to make merch, and in terms of, you were saying like YouTube and Instagram and all that, like more of the content creation side of things. Like I want to do that, but Gary Vee said this. I know he's almost like a meme right now, but Gary Vee said this cool thing early on. He said like, document it, don't create it, right? So just make your life fun, make it entertaining, do what you love to do, and just capture what you're doing instead of creating situations that to capture, because that's
Yeah.
so much more taxing. So I want to do that. I want to do the songs, document the process, and also be smart about the way I document the process. Like, if what works for people now on TikTok is seeing how a guy makes a beat in 20 seconds, then I'll just do that for whatever I'm making, for the shit I'm making.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's like sort of the next step. And like I said, I have one other main project that I'm sort of thinking about on the side. Um, but right now the main focus is just like wind down for the summer, because I had a crazy season. Like I think I must have done like 300 gigs in the last 5 to 6 months.
Which is a
Is that
crazy
even
amount by any
possible?
standard.
Wait, hold on, that's not possible. um it is possible. Is it possible?
So I think basically you did a shit
No,
ton of
it's not
gigs.
possible. I did a shit ton of gigs.
Yeah.
That's not
We'll
possible.
use
There's only
that
180
numerical
days
and
in six
we'll use
months
that unit.
Yeah, but I was
Shit
just
ton.
doing the math, and it was like crazy. I was like, how did I get 300 gigs from 180 days?
You
I did
measured
a
in
lot of
dog
gigs.
gigs.
I measured yeah, that would be a lot more, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's the plan for the next 2 months, is to work on like perfecting these songs, perfecting my ability to produce them to the best of like to the best of my ability.
And honestly, I can't wait to see the fruits of all that labor.
And
So JP,
yeah.
that's all about yourself as a musician. Now I want to shift the focus to the music industry itself and to get your insight. I'm not going to call it opinion because it's a lot more than that. You have a lot of experience in this area, and I really
Thank
want to
you.
ask you for that insight for myself and the audience. The first question I want to ask, how difficult is the music industry in the UAE? And what is the importance of a good manager?
Okay, so let's approach the manager thing first, because honestly, that infrastructure doesn't really exist here. I only know of a couple situations over the years of being a musician here where I've seen people being managed by other people, and I've never really seen it work out with great results. I've never seen like it must maybe once I saw it once with but that infrastructure for sort of, let's call ourselves indie musicians, and indie musicians is like anyone who's not
Independent.
signed to to a label, but also there's like I would say there's like there's an Arab world definition of indie as well, which is just not signed to like Rotana, which is sort of like the label that has all. It's like the monopoly of like of Arabic music, and only now from places in Egypt and previously Lebanon, not as much now because it's more just electronic and sort of party. It's more party based, the music there, and there of course there are bands, but it's more party based. But yeah, um,
Do you
there
think
are
a lot of
very
that has to do
few.
with culture? Like Arabs generally don't like being told what to do or having someone else manage their finances and work.
No, I don't think so at all. Because the more Arab musicians, like the more standard, like let's say like Amr Diab and offshoots of whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
Like all like that really type of Arabic music that you listen to in a car and you're like, that's Arabic music as it has been for the past, fucking 20, 30 years. Like
Yeah.
it's changed very slightly in the way that it's written, in my opinion. I'm no expert. And there's some great Arabic music out there, but like it's like I think the new stuff that's coming out, that's coming from underneath labels, is by like that's not really label supported, right? That's more indie, is by kids who are more international, even if they're singing in Arabic. There are girls like Eliana. There's Zayn, who's Jordanian. There's Isam and Najjar. These people are writing in Arabic, but they're writing in their own way. They're not writing like the people who are writing in the Rotana labels and stuff.
Okay, but now JP, I want to ask, you mentioned all those singers, but I can imagine for all the named singers that you know now, there's dozens, if not hundreds, who've tried to achieve the same place, but I don't want to say failed, but they kind of don't try anymore. So I want to say
Yeah,
I want to ask in the Middle East, what does it take to become a successful musician? What does it take to become like you, Jay Abu, or those
mm,
other names you mentioned where people know who they
okay.
are?
Great question. It takes, I think, first and foremost, the ability to compromise, the ability to not be like a whiny little, whatever.
Bitch.
I'm not gonna say it. Yeah,
I'll
and
say
be
it for you,
like,
don't worry.
thank you, and no, and be like, I'm doing this for me. This is my art. This is my music. You're not, bro. You're doing this for people. You're going out. If you want to be an entertainer, if you want to be paid for services, then services are for people. You're there to entertain a crowd. So you find that balance where what you're doing satisfies you and fulfills you in some way, like the way you sing a song or whatever, or the songs you pick, right? But you remember that this is a show. So, and a show is about an audience. It's not about you as a singer. So you have to put that that what they call it is artistic integrity,
Mm.
which it exists. It's a valid concept, but like artistic integrity isn't about playing what you want. You're there, like especially in the beginning, right? Like John Mayer, my idol, my everything. The person who I learn everything from. He did "Your Body Is a Wonderland," and like that's not like that was his breakthrough song. That song gave him the start of his career. And then he did another album, like that was his first album, Room for Squares, had "Your Body Is a Wonderland." His second album, um uh, was it Heavier Things, was it was slightly heavier things, right? it was
Yeah.
it was a bit more complex, a bit closer to what he wanted. But by that time he'd reached like pretty much, he'd gotten critical acclaim. And his third album, he was like, well, it's time for me to do whatever the fuck I want. And he made a masterpiece. He made his magnum opus, like everyone considers Continuum by John Mayer a masterpiece. To me, it's my favorite album of all time. It contains like two of my favorite songs of all time. Still, a lot of what I do, like musically, a lot of every little parts of every song I write and every guitar solo I try to play, is inspired by Continuum in many, many, many ways. Continuum is an amazing album.
So it's
So
not
what
about
was the
compromising
question?
your artistic integrity. It's just about kind of finding an artistic equilibrium
Yes,
where you're
very,
still
very well said.
authentic, but you're not too much of a panderer.
Yes, Exactly. Very, very well said, bro. And I know a lot of people who started with me at those open mics and who I still love dearly as friends, but they just couldn't make that compromise. And so they're working different jobs now. They're working jobs for the most part. Some of them are doing great, some of them not so great. But a lot of people quit, and I didn't quit. And I've had many humiliating moments. Like um like kids throw coins at me, like at a busking gig where we're meant to like pretend to busk, because busking is illegal, but
So
we're
you
like meant
felt
to
like
pretend
an
to busk.
Albertan stripper.
Bro, yeah, worse even.
The
I don't
loony
even know what
toss is what I'm
Albertan
referring to.
strippers look like. Is Albertan strippers like a thing?
Because, okay, so where that reference comes from is in Alberta, which is in Canada. In Canada,
Yeah.
$1 is a coin. It's called a loonie. So it's like a
Okay.
$1 coin.
Okay.
So in strip clubs in Alberta, the strippers
I
would
see.
have the loony toss where they'd place a bucket between their legs and people would try to toss the loonies at the bucket. But you can
Wow,
imagine
man.
that if you throw a bunch of coins at the same time, it's a bit painful, and we're not even getting into the degrading part of it. So yeah, so that's basically what the loony toss is. If a Canadian ever tells you, "Oh, it's a loony toss," but
Oh
I
no.
want to get back to that. So you mentioned a lot of people having either the internal motivation to go on, or kind of an internal obstacle where they kind of just give up. That's all internal. Now I want to ask about the external obstacles to being a successful musician, specifically competition. How is the competition in the Middle East, and is it vicious?
Um, it never felt vicious to me, because I always felt like I had something. Like I mean, it's crazy because some days I feel like, man, everyone's better than me, but like I always had something where I sounded like myself, and no one really sounded like me, because um I think we're all trying to be our idols. And I think at where I was, like, very few people were trying to be John Mayer. Like, a lot of people were trying to be Beyonce, were trying to be Drake, right? So it was easy for me, because I'm like, yay, what I like is a bit easier, because not many people are doing it. And so I've always been lucky in that way, that like there's not many people who are doing what I do. And there's not many people who, let's say, they do choose this sort of like overarching genre, they don't know how to make that work for a crowd.
What is that
Where
genre, though? I want to ask.
I would say like just popular music, right? I wouldn't say pop music, because that has like a sonic connotation to it, and you just think of a couple of artists. But like popular music, songs that everyone loves, that's my genre. Songs that I love, you know. And so it's finding a balance between songs that I love. It's like that Venn diagram: songs I love, songs people love, and that little intersection in the middle is like my set list,
Yeah.
for the most part. Um, and so I think that's a very important part. It's hella. Is it competitive? Yeah, it's competitive. Like there are some really good singers out there. Really, really good singers. I would say there's like maybe 15 to 20 singers right now who are like at the top of the game in Dubai. Like, these are the singers who are getting all the gigs. And I think only about 6 of them, 5 of them, can make like a really good living. But we're talking about the external factors, right? So is that if you would consider that competition? Yeah, there is competition. But I think if you're good enough and you know how to talk to people and you know how to pick the right songs, like if someone tomorrow just showed up in Dubai who was the exact same level as me in every aspect, right? Same level guitar playing, same level looping, same level of performance, and crowd interaction, and knowing how to talk to agents and venue people and events people, then I don't think it would take them too long to get where I am. So I do think it is like a level of talent and level of skill and level of understanding the business thing.
Do you ever feel
It's not
like
very.
do you ever feel like you kind of have to either look over your shoulder because someone can grab your spot in a gig, or that they have to look over their shoulders because you could grab their spot? That's kind of what I mean by vicious competition.
Yeah, I mean, for me, no, again, not really, because like I don't feel like I've never been made to feel like that, you know. Like I've kept some of the longest residencies. Like my residency at Cove Beach I've had for almost 3 years. That's unheard of, you know. No contract or anything. They've just had me for 3 years. I'm like I'm the only person who's been there for that long. So I understand the nature of the business. Like a venue does need to sort of change it up every couple months, you know. So unless like I've had a stint that ended abruptly and early, I would never think that. And I never, you know, I've rarely had anything like that,
I
you know.
think just from my observation with you, I think with you, Jean-Pierre, it's because you've built kind of a personal brand. People know Jay Abu before they know your genre. So it's not like I said, my opinion, it's not like when venue owners say, hey, we need a pop singer, and there's two people competing for that spot. I think more people are now getting to the point where they're like, we need Jay Abu. So no one can really
Yeah,
compete with Jay Abu
100%.
for Jay Abu. Does
You're
that make
right.
sense?
You're right. Of course, a lot of sense. A lot of
That's my
sense.
observation. So I guess, would you give that
You're
advice to
100%.
other people? Build your brand and not just your genre?
Yeah, bro. But also, like, I'm gonna say something that might hurt a lot of people, which is that,
Go
hey,
for it.
look, I'm lucky. I'm lucky. Like I'm lucky. Like I'm good. You know, I'm good, and I don't even like try that hard. And I
Mm.
swear to God, this is not something I'm proud of. But like, this is like something I feel guilty about. Like I feel guilty that there are people who work harder than me at music. They work harder than me, but they don't get the opportunities I get. They don't get the gigs I get. And that's just because like somehow I don't know how, I don't know why. Thank you. I'm lucky in that way. I'm lucky that I just like I get it, you know. Uh I I I just how the easiest way to say what my gift or what my talent is or what my gift is that like I just can tell pretty well what sounds good. That's it. It's not a complicated thing. I just can tell what sounds good or what is going to sound good and what doesn't sound that good. And I also have a really good ability in manipulating my voice. Sometimes I don't think I'm a good singer. I think I'm just a very good impersonator or impressionist or whatever, you know. Like maybe impressionist is not the right word, but I'm very good at imitating. And sometimes I think that it's a combination of like I'm good at imitating and I know what sounds good, and those two things together make like a good musician who's also like not necessarily very technically competent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then given that you say that, I want to ask, what do you think is more important, talent or training?
Like I know everyone knows that example of, you know, like someone extremely talented who puts no work in will get nowhere, but someone kind of talented who puts a lot of work in will definitely get somewhere. So I believe that, but like I think of it in a different way. I think of it as like it's like you know, a formula, and it's I think talent is like a multiplier, right? So take it as you're like times 2 times 3 times 4 times 10, and then hard work is what is the that variable that you multiply, right? So it's a combination, bro. Obviously we all know that it's a combination, but I think to really get the higher paying gigs, to really get the to really make it in this industry, like there has to be talent. There has to be, you
Right.
know, to make it on a high level, honest, to be successful, you have to have talent. You can't, like I love to believe that any human can become anything, but like I don't, you know, I wish I could become an MMA fighter, but I would get my fucking ass kicked in a second by a 15-year-old kid in my gym right now,
That's a
you
ton of
know.
brain damage.
It's just I would just be bad at it, you know. I'm not made to fight. I know that. And I believe that there's like people have different purposes, and this just works for me. And there's probably some people who like, they wish, just like I wish I could be an MMA fighter, they wish that they could be like a musician, and they try so hard at it and they train every day. And there's just like, there has to be a baseline of talent, I think.
Yeah, but like it's basically a trade-off because, as you said earlier in the video, you found out you were great at music and you had a gift for it. I want to say gift, not luck, a gift. But the trade-off was you basically did not enjoy or did not do good in the other subjects in school.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not just like everything is great for this one thing. It's like there was a trade-off. And also, bro, you did do the hard work. I don't think you were ever complacent.
I could have done a lot more. I try
Yeah,
not to think about it, but I could have done I could have done a lot more, you know?
yeah, but everyone
Like,
could always do a lot more. I mean, even me with this podcast, I could say I could have started a couple of years ago. I could have bought even more equipment.
I know.
That's easy to
I know.
say. But with you,
Of course, and
JP,
I think, I know it's an unhealthy way to think, but like I'm just saying, like I definitely, I think I could have worked harder. But like whatever, the point is to work harder now, you know.
yeah,
If I, you know, after making that realization.
yeah. So given that, like, you're happy with where you are now, even though obviously you want to go further, what is the bright side of the music industry in Dubai? Like, what is the part that makes it glamorous? What is the part that makes it rewarding, great? What makes you feel great when you're in this industry?
I'm just trying to think like in a non-selfish way and non-philosophical way, how to like really give advice to people who actually do want to make it in the Dubai music scene.
Okay, let's focus
Um,
on that then.
I want to try to make it like sort of a bullet point like thing. Um, Compromise, right, is the number one. Like, think about the audience, think about what they want to hear, think about what you want to play so that you enjoy doing it, but also remember that this is mostly about the audience and them having a good time, right, wherever you are. If remember to think about the purpose that you serve in the place. Are you meant to be the center of the show, or are you meant to be background music? Because sometimes it's a blow that you have to take, and you develop thick skin for this, but sometimes your purpose is to be background music, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm background music at a couple of my gigs, and I don't mind. You know, you just have to and just know what that means for your set list and for how you present yourself, singing wise, playing wise. You know, you don't go crazy loud. You don't go, you know, some songs maybe you save to impress and you get their attention for like one song or two, but you know, remember the purpose that you serve there, right? Third is definitely go to open mics, because that hones your skill, that like teaches you how to become a performer, teaches you how to put together a set list, how to put together songs, how to have, you know, cues within your songs, things that you do, things that differentiate your version of it if it's a cover from the original. Four, be nice to everyone always, even if they're being shitty to you, find a way to be nice through their shittiness, because then their shittiness is amplified yeah, to themselves. Then they see like, wow, I'm being shitty, you know. Sometimes being kind just helps any situation. And just, yeah, talk to people, get to know people, really listen to people. It's at the end of the day, this business is also people. It's not just music, it's not just talent and songs, it's people, right? It's working well with people. Like, I'd much rather have a musician in my band who is chill and nice and good to talk to and technically like good, than have someone who's technically great but who's a piece of shit to work with. And lastly, I would say, like, obviously, you know, put up content, even though I don't follow that rule that well. Like, I don't put up enough content, but just keep recording every part of your journey and put it up and let people watch, because that's how it is now. You got to let people watch your life as you try to make it better. So yeah, what was the question that we're going to next?
So basically, for the upcoming musicians that you basically just inspired with your words and advice,
Yeah.
Can't have
Yeah.
a brown nose if you've already got a brown nose, Jean-Pierre. But yeah, basically
Mm.
for these new up and comers, could you tell them about what is the bright side of the music industry in the Middle East?
The bright side is that you get to meet a lot of cool people and get to meet a lot of cool friends. I've been in some of the coolest situations in my entire life from being in music. It is a small bubble, but that just means that like when Chris Martin from Coldplay is in town, like I get to be invited to that party and I get to meet him. That was one of the best moments of my life, you know, meeting one of my heroes, like my heroes. And I met three of my heroes last year. And it's just because you know, I've been in this community for a while, and it's like it's a small bubble, so a lot of things can happen. That's the cool thing about Dubai. It's so small that a lot of things can happen, and you can have a winning lottery ticket because pretty often because it's a very small sample, you know, it's a very small amount of lottery tickets. um
So it gets you
the,
exclusivity and prestige.
yeah, it's just like meeting cool
Yeah.
people, being in cool situations, right? Playing big stages. Like I played the same stage at Expo that Jacob Collier played. You know, I don't anywhere else in the world, maybe I don't deserve that stage, you know, but because I'm in Dubai, because I'm in the UAE, because it's a small bubble and they support us here, they want to show off the talent that's here to the world. I get to play these shows, I get to meet these people, I get to go and work with that amazing brand, you know. um so that's part of it, and then the other part of it is honestly getting paid well, eating at great venues, great restaurants, and drinking, you know, for basically free.
Yeah.
um and just enjoying sort of like that very Dubai influencer lifestyle that does get boring after a while. And I don't really drink at gigs anymore. I try to make it a point now not to. But in the first couple of years, it's really fun when you, and especially when your body and your age can still handle the weight of it. You know,
Bro, you're still
it's
young. I
really
don't know what
fun.
you're talking about.
It's really fun. Yeah, I am, but I mean, like,
How old are you?
I just can't
29?
live the way I did when I can't live the way I did when I was 26, you know,
Yeah.
now at 30. It's just a bit different. It's a bit
Dude,
different, but
if
it's
you're
rewarding in
30,
different
that's
ways.
like season 4 of Friends out of 10 seasons.
You know, it's crazy. I also think of Friends when I'm like, oh, they turned 30 on in like
Season
season
4,
4,
season
so it's
5.
not so bad.
Yeah.
But things get really sour in season 7. So I think I have 3 years before I'm redundant, before I'm not
Nah, a
funny
lot of time
anymore,
to diversify.
not fresh. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I know. I have my whole life to look forward to.
Exactly. Okay, so Jean-Pierre, that's basically the bright side of the music industry here. The glamour, the exclusivity, some prestige, some perks of basically being a successful musician.
Ah,
Now I
good
want to
people, good
ask
friends,
about
also.
the dark side. Basically, when the party's over, you wake up, you're exhausted, your ears are ringing, and just other kind of related stuff that make it not so glamorous.
Yeah, there's obviously like a bunch of things. There's, you know, like chasing payments. Do I give up or should I just keep chasing payments? There's you know, there's a lot of people who pay late. You know, you really have to be on it, and I don't like the feeling of asking for money ever, even if I'm owed it. Like, I don't like asking for it. I like just like being paid, you know, on time. So there's that aspect. There's obviously, you know, your voice gets tired. You get tired psychologically of sometimes singing to crowds who don't even like you. You can you know, you can do sets, you can sing your heart out for an hour and a half, and you can maybe not get even one, just not even one. You know, that's many nights that happens, right? People
Do you
just
ever get
do not
heckled?
give a shit. They just um I did once, like, or twice in once or twice maybe in Abu Dhabi, or even not even in Dubai, like in a festival in Abu Dhabi. I'm not saying specifically Abu Dhabi for any reason, but it happened like once. And then I remember I learned how to deal with it in a really good way. So like I was like, I remember it was a gig where I was supposed to, it's that same one sort of, I told you earlier about it, where I was pretending to busk, right? In a tunnel in Abu Dhabi that goes under a road and into like this big festival sort of area. Um, and a lot of kids would, it was like it was a place where you just walked by me as I sang, right? So a lot of kids would stop and heckle, and eventually, I think on the third day of me doing it, I realized that the way to do it was, instead of ignore them, notice them earlier. Like
Mm.
notice them earlier and give them attention somehow. So like
Incorporate
just look
them.
at them, point at them, smile at them, say something about them, say something in, in Arabic if they were Arab, to let them know, because I sing English songs, but I'm Arab. So sometimes, um, but I would know sort of like earlier on in the interaction, I got to knowing like these people are going to interact with me in a maybe not so savory way. So I'm gonna early on notice them, give them attention, and then that puts them on the spot, and they can be nothing but nice to you. So you learn these little like weird, very non-verbal communication things, like these dynamic interaction thingies, and yeah, you learn how to deal with it. But that's just good for life, because that's something you learn and you can apply to the rest of your life.
So you basically
uh,
develop, and oh my God, I'm blanking out on the word. It's not cognition, it's not judgment, it's, what's the word? Like, do you know what I
what
mean? Like,
no, what are you trying to say?
you've developed like it's an
Thick
automatic
skin.
response.
Yeah,
Instinct.
yeah, it's just it's
Yeah,
thick, yeah,
instinct.
thick skin. No, I was saying thick skin, but yeah, I've always had an instinct with people. Like I've always known
Mm.
I can read people pretty well. Like I know what they want, even if they won't say it, or I know what their intentions are, a lot of the time.
So that's part
Um,
of the dark side of the
that's part of
industry.
it. Also, there's an aspect where shit goes to your head very fast, because again, like I said, it's a small community. So if you get recognition from one little brand, one little radio station, um, people are so instantly change their like
Mm.
personas, even publicly, right? And they just sort of embrace this, or so, yeah, they take on this like, okay, I'm there, I made it, you know. It's like, dude, you've had like one fucking show, you've just, yeah, you've had a couple gigs, like relax. Like I try to I try to be, I'm usually very self-deprecatory when I talk about myself, because it's a funny thing and it's like a defense mechanism, and I've been doing it
Yeah,
since I was in high school. But I also know like I'm very good, and I'm trying to now like really own the things that I know I'm good at, because it's just, I'm even convincing myself, you know.
you're
But
proud, but you're
I
not
would
arrogant.
never, yeah, exactly. That's what I would say. Like, I don't think I'm arrogant at all. Like, if someone doesn't want me for a gig, I understand. Like, I take it. I just, I don't go like, how could they not? And how could I not get this? And, um, I don't, um, say silly things on social media. I don't pretend that because I'm good at music, then my opinion at everything else must be true or golden. I
Yeah,
don't
you're not a
pretend
diva.
that I'm an expert on anything. I can be a bit of a diva at times, but like for good reason. Like it's an exercise in, self-care, to not use a word that's fucking way too used these days, but like it is. Like you got to learn how to ask for what you think you deserve, or what you think you've earned.
Yeah.
um what else?
So that's
That's
two
pretty
dark
much it. It
sides.
just goes to your head, pretty quick, and you develop like beef with people, where there's like, how can there be any beef in a community where there's like 20 to 30 really like realistically competing musicians? That's not even competition. There's no one needs to compete. There's 30 of us. That means, the entire audience of just the UAE, forget the Middle East, split between 20, 30 people. Wow, insane. That's amazing, you know. So there's no need for beef. There's no need to be competing. There's no need for people to have like bad, hard feelings between each other. But for some reason, there's a lot of that, you know, there's a lot of that in the
I think it
community.
just takes one person to kind of aggravate the group, because just one person making beef and starting beef kind of causes another person to start beef with someone else, like a domino effect,
Yeah,
and
there
they
is a
develop
domino
beef
effect
as a
for sure.
response.
There is a domino effect for sure. But I think also part of that is like literally genre based, because I think I don't have beef with anyone. I think everyone fucking, I'm good peachy with everyone. Like I love all the musicians, and I like to think that, you know, they like me and respect me as well. But it seems to me it doesn't seem, it's what it is that that's all focused, like all that beef and all the things that are happening are more focused in that genre, which is like more rap, R&B, soul, hip
Yeah.
hop, you know. That's where there's more friction. And again, this puts me in a very good position because I'm lucky to not be in that genre. I'm still doing my guitar, Charlie Puth / John Mayer / I don't know who, you know, whoever else, sort of music. So again, like there's no need for anyone, there's no one else but me here, you know. There's no one else but me here. There's like a couple, but they're not doing it as intensely as I'm doing it, you know. There's like Ronnie Sarkis, who's similar. He's even more folky than me. Like I try to be a bit more groove based and a bit more uh yeah, I'm a bit different. Like Ronnie's more folksy than I am, but yeah, like we're good friends, you know. And that's, you know, there's also Danny Aridi, who's really good. No one works harder than this guy, man. He's
Couple of shout
one hell of
outs
a
out there,
singer.
huh?
Yeah. No, I'm because for people who don't know the scene in Dubai, you know, this might, you know, help them go and support it or see something they
Yeah.
like, or come see a gig or whatever. You know, Jamie DeVille, also another great singer. He's in more of like in the R&B, also neo soul, groove school of things. Um, yeah, man, these guys are all really good, and like we're all friends. And I think it's also a youth thing. Like the younger you are, the more likely you are to fall into these traps. And obviously, you want to model the people who you admire, and the people who you admire for sure have friction with other people. But that's like an international celebrity community, right? It's like
Yeah.
artists who are on top of the game, so it makes more sense there than in Dubai. But yeah, those are the dark parts of the scene, which, you know, it's not many. You can deal with them.
Did you ever feel like the more fame and success you were achieving over the years, the more fake people tended to aggregate around you?
I mean, I wouldn't say fake people. I would just say like almost every social interaction that is not with someone that you actually intimately know is sort of a performance, right? And in Dubai, everyone is really good at those, you know, 1 to 2 minute performances. So I don't
I'm
think it's
talking
fake.
more
I think it's
about
just
people who want
etiquette.
favors and who invite you on their podcast and who want you to get them into a club and stuff like that.
Not much of that, to be honest. Really, not much of that. Like I'm pretty good at filtering people out, but there's not many people. Yeah, and people will ask me to get them into my gig, you know, which is great. I'd love to. Please come, you know. But yeah, not really, bro. I'm really not that. I'm not like the club boy who goes into places and just gets in for free and gets free tables. Like that doesn't happen. You know, I get free shit at the places where I work, and I get maybe a bit of special treatment in the places where I work or have worked, even if I'm not going there for a gig, you know.
Yeah.
But that's about it, you know. Like, yeah, I help a few people get into Cove when they're full for like a beach day thing, you know, maybe twice or 3 times, whatever. But no, I really haven't had much of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get asked for favors. This is one that like bothers me a little bit, because like I'm very it's like I said before, it's very hard for me to ask for what I want. And so sometimes people ask me for things like, yo, would you mind writing this little thing, or would you mind recording this voiceover, or would you mind you know, just
Doing
singing
this
this part,
podcast.
doing doing this podcast is great because this is exposure for me. I'm talking about myself, it's good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
That
good
makes
for
sense.
me. But people ask me for things that are just good for them,
Mm.
and they want a favor, but that has nothing to do with me being popular. That has more to do with like the fact that I can do a good voiceover, I can do a good song, I can write a good little jingle, and then they don't really discuss me getting paid for it. But it's still a job, so sometimes it just gets hard to do that because I'm very friendly with people, and so sometimes that puts me at a disadvantage because I don't ask for what I think I
Yeah.
I deserve.
I definitely have seen a lot of that. I think usually people with specific skills, like in your case, it's voiceover and songwriting. Other people's
Yeah.
case, it's like graphic design or
Oh yeah.
programming, coding. What a lot of people need to realize is that this is these guys' work. And unless you're like close friends, I would never approach these people for a favor without either paying
Yeah.
them for their work or at least heavily implying that I will give them a favor in return.
Yeah, 100%. That's happened to, what? It's actually happened to me a lot with weddings, people who are like, I would say, you know, kind of friends. Like we're
As
like, we know each other
acquaintances.
and we've seen each other out a few times. And people like that who ask me to play at their weddings, and then they're surprised when I give them a rate, that bothers me. Like
Yeah.
that bothers me. But also, I understand that they don't accept. And there are times you pick your favors. There are times when I do things for free and I'm happy to do them,
Mm.
you know. There are many times where I do things like that. Like, there are gigs where they're like, this is for charity, or this is for a university or whatever. And those I'm glad to do for free, or again, working with friends, working with other people who you could need something from later. Like, I'll do something for free for a graphic designer so that maybe he can someday, I like barter shit as
Yeah.
well. I like, yeah.
No, it's all about mutual. It's all about
100%.
It's all about a mutually beneficial relationship,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then setting boundaries when other people ask you to do stuff, and they kind of expect it for free.
It's harder. It's a harder one to do, but I'm learning a little bit.
Certainly, something every famous person goes through. Hint, hint. So now, JP, I want to. So now we're going to the closing questions of the podcast. One where,
Okay.
I want to get your message as well as, you know, I want to ask you, Jean Pierre, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Dude, I have no idea, but hopefully I have these songs done. That's like that. I'm trying to just focus on that goal right now. I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. I don't even know what's going to happen next year, but I know that what I need to do right now is finish recording and writing songs.
Is it all a
So that's
focus on
like,
the present mentality, or is it just like you're not thinking about it?
no, it's just I've put it off for so long, and I know that it's like the completely most logical step for a musician is like, okay, you're a musician, so what do? You put out songs. Like, that's it. That's all it is. It's so simple, there's no need to be complicating anything. That's what I need to do. Like, it's very obvious. It's not, that's it. So that's what I'm focusing on. It's not like focus on the present. It's the only thing that matters right now. Like, there's, not much else that matters. Like, I have money saved up. I can still do gigs, I'm good. I just need to write songs and work on myself, that's it.
True. And you already touched upon this. Well, you already said a lot about this. But instead of advice, what message do you have for aspiring singers, the newcomers and the people who are about to become newcomers?
Like, obviously, like, develop a good ear. Know what sounds good to you, and I think even if you're like we said before, like competing in Dubai, approach your music like you're competing with the rest of the world. I think that's an important one. Like, don't try to beat the people in Dubai. Try to like set your standard higher. Like, when I'm writing a song, I'm not trying to get it better than someone here. I'm trying to get it as good as John, or better than Ed, or as that's, and maybe I don't reach that, and I never reach that, but it's a better thing to aspire to, right? Like
Yeah.
aspire to the best in the world, aspire to the best or the best, best people, I guess that's good advice.
Dude, it's great advice.
And along with all the rest that I gave before, right? Like along with all those pointers that are more practical in terms of getting work.
Bro, I just want to say I like your advice because I feel like these days a lot of people, even though they have dreams, they kind of self-limit before the world tries to limit them. So with you, what you're
Yeah,
basically
I do
saying
that.
is
Yeah.
don't limit yourself to your region, remove those limits and compete with the rest of the world.
Yeah, but I'm saying it more on not like a result-based thing where oh, that's where you want to get, like you want to get to world stardom. I'm saying that's the quality of work you should aspire to. Just, just looking at the work and the product and the actual thing you're building or writing, make the standard international. Don't make it local.
Beauty. And now the final question. I want to ask, do you have anyone you want to give a shout out to? Do you have any social media you want to promote? Respectfully, still a small podcast at this point, but to our viewers out there, is there anything you want to put out there?
Do you put on like the social media tags on like the screen, or should I just shout it out?
It's going to be in the descriptions because until you get to YouTube's partner status, you can't put links on the video.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's just at j.abo, jay.abo. That's my Instagram, and I like, go listen to Moonbound. Moonbound's like the first release. We did that two years ago. It's a folk song about, trying to get shit done, but not being able to because you think too much. And, and about more. It's a song about life. It's a song about life. So much depth. I'm such a deep songwriter.
So deep.
It's, and yeah, I don't think, no, any shout outs. Colin James Gordon, one of my best friends, producers, best man in the world, best drummer in Dubai. Yeah, we're working together on the new stuff, and probably we'll have a song out in the next 2 months, I would say. But I don't even like saying that because I've said many times, like, bro, they'll be out when they're ready. They'll be out when they're ready, and it's my only focus right now. So
definitely, and
so
people will
that's
be
it, yeah.
waiting for sure.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
So JP, Jay Abo, I really got to thank you for taking the time to be on this podcast. And
My absolute pleasure, bro.
bro, I really appreciate you telling us your story. I appreciate the advice and the feedback, and most importantly, the insight into the music industry.
My pleasure, man. Hope to be
For all
on here
the
again.
viewers out there, like we said before, if you haven't already done so, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and spoil me by clicking the bell notification. It really helps us.
Hit the bell.
Jay Abo's social media is going to be in the description down below. We encourage everyone to give him a follow and to listen to his music, because once you listen to one song, you'll always want to listen to the others.
Well, once you listen to one song, you'll realize there's only one song, so you can't listen to any others.
There's no other songs. No way.
There's just one song. There's just one song on. Well, you can find others on YouTube, but there's just one song on Spotify. There's just one song.
Yeah, but you got
Spotify.
a ton of work out there. I've listened to a few of them.
I got work out there. Yeah, I got some work out there. I got some old work out there. We'll get some more out. We'll get some more out.
Point is, follow Jay Abo. You won't be disappointed. Okay. So everyone, basically, that's our episode for today. I think it was amazing. I think it was great. Maybe JP has another opinion, but I don't agree.
I love it.
Perfect. So this episode is now over. Everyone, be easy on yourselves. Have a great day and stay tuned for the next episodes. Thanks, JP.
Thanks, Habibi.